My name is Jacob Wagh. I'm Director of Product Management at SpyCloud, located in Austin. Been here for about 4 years, and I'm mainly product managing or leading our portals and investigations and enterprise products. So I think that's relevant to what we're going to discuss today around and workflows and experience. And SpyCloud specializes in capturing dark web data and recapturing that from the criminal underground. So we expose what the criminals know about employees, consumers, VIPs. So we are fairly aggressive in collecting a lot of information around third-party breaches, malware, infections, phishing data, and looking to look at additional sources such as ransomware type of events. I think given the nature of our business and kind of the value that we're adding to customers is around data itself, it's, as you might know, it's challenging to show examples of data to prospects and to potential customers who may not know much about SpyCloud. This was something we've heard feedback from sellers internally, as well as when we talk about an API type of solution with our data set. It's very difficult to have customers grok that, especially in, let's say, a 30-minute intro type of call. From the prospect perspective, we want the demo itself to be impactful and short enough to where the customer walks away with SpyCloud in mind saying, I see what they can offer my organization, instead of walking with more questions like, I'm lost in the data. This is nuts. I'm going to move on to my next thing because I'm very busy. So primarily, I think we want to see better conversion of prospect first touches to actual customers, right? Signing customers. But other than that, we also offering a product to investigators, and they're very data heavy. And we understand that they cannot humanly read through thousands records that we may provide them if they run, let's say, a search on an entire domain. So we place some importance on how do we aggregate these? How do we show signals that they can click further into instead of just blah, all the information is just set out and they have to go find things. So we're doing that in several ways, both with better, what we're calling baseball cards, kind of like a summary information. If you think of like the whole style, I guess there's still baseball cards in production, but it's like kind of the highlights and the stats, right? And then there's the visual graph, which they can go through an actual pivot graph and manipulate things and search new things. I think for those who aren't familiar with SpyCloud, I feel like the most impact that we've had is when we show customers their own data, right? So if I were to search Mindgrub, for example, and start showing your security team the data, and that did that, by the way, and there's a lot of information out there, but that's impactful because they start seeing things that point out, oh, I know those employees, or, oh, I know this application. That's one of our internal labs. So that's our SSO. This is something that was missing from our enterprise dashboard product. It would give like a nice high level. It was almost like a brag about SpyCloud and how much data we're getting, because it is a lot and it is something brag worthy. But for those that really want to get like personal about it, saying this is impacting my org, we changed our dashboard around, redesigned it. It's years old, and we just did this about a year ago. And this again was to help both operational and demo type of scenarios. So the product dashboard for our enterprise customers now points out things like we see infected employees, we see these employees are reusing their passwords the most. Here's the top exposed applications. Here's the top 20 latest breach events affecting your org. So that gives a really nice high level summary that actually starts to show some of the detailed data versus here's your timeline over 5 years of breaches that we've seen, SpyCloud has seen. So it really, I think it personalized a little bit more. So that had both helped maintain customers as well as potentially get new enterprise customers. Sure. So the process itself, we start from the beginning. We had noticed a problem, a growing problem, right? And we had set out with a hypothesis saying, we think we could fix this problem of why are demos difficult for enterprise products? And that's one problem. And then we could also say we have years of feature requests from customers saying, I'd like this metric to be shown on the dashboard. And we have a couple of those to point back to. And so it was, how do we make current customers happy, potentially serve new customers in the same type of way? They wanted to see a certain metric or something shown. And so I usually involve our UI UX design lead pretty early, and we will go through the problem space and what are we using today. We'll also go to Pendo. We're using Pendo for product metrics, and we'll look at things just if you're going to heat map a particular page. We look at the hot areas. We look at just stuff that potentially has never clicked. And so come up with, as well as incorporating some of the new feature requests that we've seen, we come up with some Figma prototypes and designs of here's what we think a new dashboard could offer. And we try to give, for each little tile that we show, we're like, what's going to be the actionability here? What's going to be the takeaway? And so it's almost like we're taking it piece by piece. Yeah, we recycled some of the old dashboard because we thought it was working, but there's probably more than half of it was redone, right? So there were some things that we thought were, okay, yeah, we can keep that. That still makes sense. And then after we prototyped, we started to socialize with some customers. We do have a customer advisory board, which we do show future designs as well as a future roadmap that we're thinking about investing into. But beyond that, I also use Pendo to find our, let's say, our highest users of the portal, reach out to them to ask for their feedback. And hey, we're going to update the dashboard, as well as our first problem. We talk to the sellers, show them the design, say, hey, do you think if we were to introduce this, do you think you could have more successful demos, tell better stories, get straight to the point without having to go to a table of data and show information and try to cherry pick things to talk about? It's right there on the dashboard. So that's how we go about confirming what we're working on is going to resonate. It's going to be all about AI, and it's already started. It's not even 3 to 5 years. It's now. I can't imagine in 3 to 5 years, we'll probably have solved for even more where kind of people are in the loop and process is being razor edge of, I need the answers right now instead of let's wait and design this for over a few days. So I think, yeah, the iterations between design feedback, user feedback, product manager feedback, all of those iterations are just going to be near zero, right? It's going to be very quick to get a satisfactory or even great design. I think things like wireframes are good to have, although with AI tools, it's so quick to turn that into a high fidelity mockup. And they both have different goods and bads. I think if you present a high fidelity mockup, you'll get feedback, but it's really locked into just that, right? It's, oh, that's the design. Okay, I'm going to give you feedback on just that. Versus a wireframe, I think lends for more discussion to say, I think the whole section there just needs to be moved, or you can start move bigger pieces and think about design in a broader sense instead of nitpicking on colors and font and style. And both of those can be created by AI tools. And it's just amazing how conversational it can be. So it's almost, I had an AI designer I'm talking to, and the AI tool is just picking up on that and cranking out a design. What do you think about this? And so let's iterate on that. That's nice. So I think tools like V0, Bolt, and Lovable are making a lot of this possible. I've just been using straight up Claude to prompt for new designs. And I'll actually take those to my UI UX designer and design team. This is a directional thing. I still think there's a role of UX design to get kind of usability feedback, to do the interviews, over the shoulder type of analysis, right? But I think that's still needed, but that iteration between feedback to design, and I think AI tools will take front seat. And I think designers need to start adopting that right now. I think the product managers are all about the AI tools and not shy about using them. I think we'll share funny output from the tools when it decides to hallucinate on us, which I think gives a reality check to say, yeah, humans have to be able to catch this. So I think that while it can be funny, it also sets the tone to say, you're not going to be replaced quite yet. There's still a ways for these models to go as your prompting gets better and your iterations get better. The tools do just perform that much better, have less errors, but be little spit back things that somewhat unexpected or make up things, right? Which you have to fact check, especially if it's like numbers or stats around things. You have to make sure that the tool has given you the source. I think on the design side of the house, it's a little more, I feel like it's looking more so of a co-pilot for Figma. So it's, hey, I'm comfortable in the Figma tool right now. And I know there's a bunch of AI stuff going on. Like, how do I still use Figma and have AI help me if I go to Builder or something like that, pull my Figma designs into Builder and then be able to suggestions versus using an AI tool specifically and say, hey, the ground up new design, right? Here's our design of our design catalog or whatever. Here's what our styles and fonts and colors we're using. And can we start creating new designs? I feel like there's a little more resistance to using kind of those ground up new AI tools versus augmenting a known comfortable design tool. If that makes sense. Dashboards I love and hate them. Same with like ports, love and hate those. I think every customer's need is a little bit different, whether that's depends on kind of what they're looking for. The top of the list action items, what do I need to be concerned about today type of thing. I need to triage something, and has the dashboard shown me that relevant information to say, yes, you have 10 things to knock off the list, like your email inbox, right? And if you're working in a team that has access to the same information, is the dashboard smart enough to understand what other members are doing? So the collaboration side of it comes into play. But if you're logging into the portal and expecting to see, I need an executive report and it needs to be a quarter of coverage, like it needs to last 3 months. So the dashboard needs to show me that actionability side. I'm not concerned with that right now. So it really depends on kind of what frame of mind you're coming in to the product itself. I think sometimes the dashboard can bleed into that kind of exec report to almost reinforce the budget been given to this specific product, as well as teams like to show the work that they've been doing, especially if it's a smaller team and they don't have special work tracking. They're not using a ticketing system and they're relying on your product to do that kind of the triage and status and workflows. Then the dashboard should be revealing what's been done, what's been triaged in the past, and what's to triage. I think I mentioned we use Pendo. So I think when you ask about metrics and signals with Pendo, it's great for kind of that quantitative analysis, feedback of just who's visiting, what pages, what does the funnel look like? Are there conversions from one feature or one page to another? But I think ultimately for some of the things that we have designed, we have a new investigations portal, which we started with the results page having a summary, for example, at the top. And what we had found after talking to users, Pendo helped reinforce this, saying, why does nobody seem like they're looking at the overview, right? It seems like they're jumping down to the table of data. And I think this is audience dependent too. Our investigators that love data and tables and spreadsheets go right there. So what happened is after talking to some users and actually having them demo our product back to us, right, to say, can you walk me through an investigation? We found that they were just scrolling through that summary, right? And I'd asked, well, you went straight down to the table. Are you not curious to see like the baseball card or our summary? We have some charts and pretty things, right, to look at. And feedback from several investigators are, no, I want to get right down to the results table because the table works great in filtering and sorting and being able to look at those records that the search results had returned. And now they want to do a secondary filter and sort to look for specific information. So we changed the display around, and I'm just pointing this out because I think based on just a quantitative from Panda, we would have thought maybe we need some kind of banner to say, hey, this is your overview, pay attention to it. When in reality, we moved the overview to another tab to say your first landing is a simple baseball card for a summary and then your results table, right? And you can collapse that to say, let's keep that collapsed. That's your preference now. Now the table is like almost the page itself, which has been liked by a lot of our users, investigators. Just